The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. It felt like the sky was grieving with her. Amara Lawson sat by the kitchen window, staring out into the storm. Her fingers gripped a pink hairbrush, the last thing her daughter, Lina, had used before leaving for school that morning. The bristles still held a strand of her golden brown hair. The clock ticked loudly in the silence. The house, once filled with laughter, cartoons, and the sound of tiny footsteps, now felt hollow, like a shell left behind after the tide. 3 years earlier, Amara's husband, Daniel, had walked out. He said he needed space, said the marriage had become too heavy. She raised Lina alone, worked 2 jobs, and gave her every ounce of love she had left. Lina had been her light, bright, curious, full of questions about everything. That light went out on a Thursday night in March. It had been raining hard that evening, the kind of rain that blurs everything: roads, lights, even hope. Lina's school bus had been running late. Amara remembered pacing the floor, glancing at the clock every few minutes. Then the phone rang. "Mrs. Lawson, there's been an accident." She drove to the hospital in the storm, her hands shaking so badly she could barely keep the car straight. By the time she arrived, it was already too late. Lina was gone. The days that followed were a blur of noise and numbness. The funeral, the flowers, the sympathy cards she couldn't bring herself to open. Everyone said the same things. "She's in a better place. Time will heal you." But time didn't heal. It only stretched the pain into something that felt endless. The house turned into a museum of memories. Her daughter's sneakers by the door, crayon drawings still taped to the fridge, the half-finished jigsaw puzzle on the dining table. Amara couldn't bring herself to touch any of it. She lived in silence, speaking only to the empty air. Then one evening, months later, Daniel came back. His hair was unkempt, his face pale. He stood on the porch with tears in his eyes. "I heard," he said softly. "I should have been there." Amara stared at him for a long moment before replying, her voice flat and cold. "But you weren't." He looked away, shame swallowing his words. He stayed for a few days, sleeping on the couch. They barely spoke. It was clear they were both drowning in their own kind of grief, his laced with guilt, hers with loneliness. One night, he left again without a word. She didn't stop him. Weeks later, while cleaning Lina's room for the first time, Amara found a small sketchbook under her pillow. Tucked inside was a folded piece of paper with childish handwriting that said, "Mommy, when I grow up, I want to make you smile every day." That night, Amara fell to the floor and cried until she couldn't breathe. After that, something changed. The grief was still there, sharp, constant, but she started to fight against it. She began writing letters to Lina every night, telling her about her day, about the things she missed, about the moments she wished they could share. She sealed each letter in a wooden box beside her bed. It became her ritual, her way of talking to her daughter across the silence. Seasons passed. Amara found herself going outside more often, walking through the park where she and Lina used to feed the ducks. She volunteered at a children's hospital, reading bedtime stories to kids who reminded her of her daughter. Some nights she still woke up crying, but she no longer felt trapped in the darkness. One morning in early spring, exactly 1 year after the accident, she drove out to the crash site. The road was quiet now, the trees greener. At the spot where the bus had gone off the road, someone had left flowers. Wildflowers, yellow and soft, growing through the cracks of the asphalt. Amara knelt down, her fingers brushing the petals. She placed one of her letters on the ground and whispered, "You kept your promise, baby girl. You still make me smile." The wind caught her words and carried them into the trees. For the first time in a long time, she smiled. Not because the pain was gone, but because she finally understood something. Love doesn't end where life does. It lingers, soft and stubborn, in every heartbeat that refuses to quit. As she stood up, the clouds broke and sunlight spilled through. Amara closed her eyes and let the warmth touch her face. For the first time since losing Lina, she took a deep breath, steady, full, alive. And somewhere in that quiet morning, She could almost hear her daughter's voice whispering back, "See, Mommy? I told you I'd make you smile."